Welcome to Community IQ. To engage and to encourage building up versus tearing down. Voices of our community. Community IQ.
Welcome back to Community IQ. We are very honored here tonight to finally get the mayor of Eustis here, Michael Holland. We have gone back and forth and rescheduled and scheduled this, and so this is really quite a blessing tonight to have Michael in front of us. And Michael, thank you for joining us.
Bruce, thank you so much. It's an honor and a privilege to be here with you all this evening.
Well, I tell you, Michael, you are a rare breed in Lake County anymore. Unfortunately, you are a native of Lake County, born and bred here, old Lake County family. And so that's special to me to have you here because there ain't many of us left.
Not many of us left at all.
Give a little bit of background on your family and what they did here in Eustis growing up.
My grandparents on my mother's side came to Eustis from Winter Garden, Florida. They opened a furniture store in downtown Eustis when they were both in their 20s, B.E. Thompson Furniture, and it stayed in downtown Eustis for about 70 years. If you're downtown Eustis today, CJ's seafood restaurant is in that building, and there's a barber shop there and apartments upstairs. But fond memories of growing up, and a lot of education took place in that building in my early years.
Oh, I'll bet. And one of my favorite memories of that building, I don't know if you remember Leedy Hogan, who was a pseudo grandmother of mine, drove her Cadillac right through your front window of that building one time years ago. And I will never forget. We tease her about that forever. Yeah, but she hit the gas instead of the brake, and there she was.
It happened a lot down there.
But anyway, yes. And Michael, you grew up in Eustis. You grew up over on Country Club.
That's correct.
Yeah. And you were surrounded by a lot of old Eustis families, the Williamses and the Rowells. And I mean, give me some other names that you,
Bill Zeller, Virgil Hamlin, those type people are the people that shaped my life growing up. So very thankful for growing up in a community like this that gave you the love, but also knocked you upside the head when you needed it also.
Yeah, there wasn't much getting away with back then, was it?
Even when I was in high school, there were a few teachers still at Eustis High School that had taught my mom and dad.
That's right.
So if I had pulled anything at high school, they would have had a phone call before I got home. So we knew how to do things right. So
now, you had an uncle that lived not too far away from you too. His name was Gator, and yet you became a Seminole. Can you tell me how that happened?
Mom went to Florida State.
Okay.
So, and I developed my love for Florida State Seminoles through her.
Right.
And still support them today. Try to get to as many games as I can every year.
Did your mother go to Florida State College for Women? Because mine did.
No. Mama was at Florida State.
Okay.
Actually, she was there while Burt Reynolds was there at Florida State. So,
all right.
Yes.
Yeah, my mother was Florida State College for Women. I think she left there in 1943, right before the transition to the co-ed university. So
my mom would have graduated from Eustis in about 1958 and then would have gone to Florida State. So.
Okay. All right. Yep. Good deal. And now, interesting aside real quick, my grandmother and my great aunt were graduates of Florida State College for Women in 1910 and 1911.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. So I got Seminole in my blood.
I
went to law school there. So I don't dislike them the way a lot of Gator fans do, but my loyalty lies with the university, which is where I got my undergraduate. Anyway.
I love Florida State, but I'm going to tell you, as long as there's a Florida school playing for the big game at the end, I'll support whichever Florida school that is.
Yeah. Citrus runs deep.
Absolutely, sir.
Yeah. Well, Michael, tell us a little bit about it. And real quick, the series that we're doing here with our leaders in Lake County, we're trying to point out the commonality of themes that makes a leader. And so we try to focus on your family, your faith, your work ethic, your education, all the things that create leaders. So that's what we're going to talk about here today. And so we always start out with the family and your upbringing. We've touched on a little bit, but you had a mom and a dad in your house.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And they instilled in you certain values. Talk about that.
They instilled in me a hard work ethic, that you're not always right. And it's okay to be wrong as long as you realize that and find the reason why you were wrong and move on. Not only did I have my mom and dad, but I had both sets of grandparents here in town, which is very rare. And I feel bad for our young people today because that family unit's not there. And unfortunately, we as communities are starting to pay that price for the family unit not being there. I'm also chair of the Ali School Board right now, and I'm seeing that more and more with the students we serve, is that they're coming out of households that there's probably just a single mom left at home, or there's a single dad, and they're struggling because they're working so hard trying to pay bills and to keep things going, that those kids don't have the ability to learn strong family ethics. So not only did I have my both sets of grandparents, I had all my cousins were here too. We were surrounded by family.
Right.
So you had that family love and you had that bond. You knew that if anything was going on, they would stand up for you and they were going to be there for you. And we all learned off of each other.
Right.
So
well, you can't say that enough. You can't say it loud enough, but you also knew that if you messed up, they were going to be there to let you know.
They were there.
Yeah,
they were there.
Yep.
Every one of my cousins, we were all about the same age group. You know, we had a span there, but they were there for me. But if I crossed a line and they knew about it, they would tell you, no, that's not right. That's not representing our family properly.
Yep.
And I had the ability to go back to them and say, you know, we're family. We need to do things right. We've got a reputation that our grandparents had all built, and we're here to uphold that.
That's right.
So that's you know, that was one of the neatest things about growing up here in Eustis at the time period that we grew up, Bruce.
Right.
Was that we had that close family unit.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just the family, and you touched on it a little bit. It was the entire community that raised you. I mean, and I'm not saying that in a cliche type fashion.
No.
You know, you would come home, or I would, and I'm sure you did too, and your mother knew what you'd done that day before she ever even asked you.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, somebody would call, I saw Bruce riding around down there and he wasn't where he's not supposed to be, and Mama would ask you, where you been today? You know, and worst thing you wanted to do was lie to her because she knew already.
You better not lie to them. So.
But that's what made us, and that's what we're trying to convey here. And the sense of community, Michael, is strong in you. I mean, your loyalty to Eustis and your service to the city of Eustis is clearly near and dear to your heart.
I am on the Eustis City Commission because I love this community. I grew up watching my grandparents go to commission meetings and being involved with this community. It's my chance to give back. I would not have what I have today if it wouldn't have been for the people of the city of Eustis and the time they took with me growing up and developing what I've become today. So just the love that's here, not only in Eustis, but of Lake County, because when you grow up in Eustis, you're truthfully growing up in Umatilla, Tavares, and Mount Dora.
That's right.
We're all here together.
Yes.
So I don't want to make this all Eustis thing, but all of these communities together have bound together, and they created something very special. And I'm not sure that bond is throughout the rest of the state of Florida.
Right.
I've been fortunate enough since I've been with the city of Eustis to serve on the Florida League of Cities. And I hear very people talk about the love of community the way that I hear our folks that serve here in local government talk about the way things have been and the way things hopefully we can get back to one day if we're going to save our communities.
You talked about 3 of the cities that made up the Golden Triangle.
Absolutely.
Which, you know, we grew up wanting to beat you, but we also knew that you were part of us too.
Absolutely.
And that whole Golden Triangle concept, the largest producer of citrus in the entire world, grew right here in these 3 little towns.
Absolutely.
Absolutely amazing.
Eustis was known as the orange capital and citrus capital of the world.
Right.
Many of our different brands of citrus were all developed out of labs right here in this community. And it's something that and I've talked to a lot of people, and I hope Lake County never forgets its agricultural roots, because the land is what made Lake County great, and that land is still here. We need to look back at what made us great, and embrace it, and maybe take a look back at it today.
It warms my heart to hear you say that. Not many, and I know that you serve on the commission with some other folks that appreciate and recognize the importance of agriculture.
Absolutely.
I mean, it is it's the third largest industry in the state of Florida. I think during the pandemic, it moved back up to second. I think it slipped back down to third now.
Absolutely.
But it has always been a huge part of this state, and especially here in Lake County, and we need to preserve that. And,
yes, sir.
And it's good to hear you say that. Our leaders that recognize that, it's amazing. Michael, you get out of high school. You graduated from Eustis High School what year?
Graduated from Eustis High School in 1983.
Okay. All right. So you're 2 years younger than I. So we're right in that same wheelhouse. And what happens when you graduate from Eustis? Where do you go?
Graduated from Eustis High School, went to Lake Sumter for a little bit, still working at the family furniture store,
right?
Helping them out. Got done there. Didn't finish at Lake Sumter because I decided to go up to Hamlin and Hilbish Funeral Home and start working part-time. I had a tug in my heart that wanted to do something a little different with my life.
Right.
And it's truthfully a calling into funeral service. And started working there with Art Hilbish and Virgil Hamlin.
Right.
And working with those two guys, learned an awful lot. While there, I just started part-time, helping wash cars, helped work funerals. Then decided to go on to college. So I went to Atlanta,
right,
to Gupton Jones Mortuary School up there. Got my degree, came home, and rest is history when it comes to my working career.
Right.
Worked for Hamlin and Hilbish when I came back for a couple years. They were bought out by a larger company, so I helped with that transition. Started running their prep facility, which is where the embalming and everything takes place. Over the years, I moved up with that company into major roles with Woodlawn down in Orlando. Managed a funeral home in Tallahassee for them. Then switched companies, and that company got bought out, and came back home and worked for Lance Pauley, which is a tremendous, tremendous man. What they do for this community is unbelievable. And while I was there with Lance, I was approached to go to work for a company out of Orlando called Foundation Partners. Since I've been with them, I started off as operations manager for Hires Baxley Funeral Services out of Ocala, which is Senator Dennis Baxley's old funeral homes. Yeah. So started there. Within probably a year, I had worked my way up into a market leader position with them. Today, I'm over 33 funeral homes throughout the state of Florida and 4 cemeteries. So stay quite active with that. But I love helping families at the worst time of their life. And trying to make things the best I can for them.
Right.
And it's teaching that love now to younger funeral directors so that they can make a difference in the communities that they're serving.
That's absolutely beautiful to hear. And you know, the funeral industry has changed a lot in your lifetime and in my lifetime. It used to be all little local funeral parlors and now the conglomerates are coming in and buying everything up. And so to see still some of the small ones that still exist, it's really kind of neat.
It really is. I applaud Lance for holding on as long as he has, and to watch the job that him and that staff do up there. It's just amazing. Yeah. I will tell you that one of the reasons I went to work for Foundation Partners is even though it's owned by a larger company, they're allowing these funeral homes to operate as their individual funeral homes. By being owned by a larger company, just gives you a little bit more of an oomph, a little bit more of a financial backing to do some different things.
Right.
But for the most part, we're allowing our funeral homes to still run as the mom and pops they were.
That's great. And you said great word, calling. It is a calling. I had a friend of mine who I know you're familiar with. We all are, Cadwell, Commissioner Welton Cadwell. And, you know, he had that same calling.
Absolutely.
And he always said that God gave him that ability because he couldn't do anything else. And he said that it just was perfect for him.
Welton is a big-hearted guy,
Yes,
and a good businessman also. And he had everything that it took to be a successful funeral director, which Welton was.
right. Yeah, he invited me one time to observe, and I said, "Well, just tell me what it's like." He got about 3 minutes into the conversation. I said, "That's all I need to know." I could never ever do what you guys do, and it's just another one of those things where you think to yourself, what a blessing it is to have people in this world that are willing to do those kind of things. And people probably look at lawyers and go, how the heck do they do that? I mean, it is true how God gives all of us skills that we can use if we want to find our way in life.
And that's one of the biggest keys is be open to the calling that God has in your life, and you will be successful in wherever you go.
That's absolutely. That's very well said. Thank you very much. All right. So, Michael, long career, very successful career. You still got a lot of life left in you. You run for the city council what year?
Ran in 2008.
Okay.
Took office in 2009.
Right.
Served 2 terms. Then ran for supervisor of elections.
Right.
That was an election that Alan Hayes got into, and lost that election. So I took a little time off from the city commission, and within just a little bit of time, Anthony Sabatini had taken my seat.
Right.
Anthony decided to resign and run for the state seat that he's in now. City commission had to reappoint someone, so they reappointed me back into office. Then I ran successfully for my seat now that I'm in.
Right.
So
now tell our listeners, Mike, what determines you to be the mayor versus a council member?
Our city commission, there's 5 of us. We're all elected. The city commission actually sits down and we decide ourselves in an open meeting who's going to be mayor and who's going to be vice mayor. Okay. It's not an elected position, but it is elected by the commission itself.
So it's like the county, same thing.
It's same thing.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got you.
I have been fortunate enough this time to have served the last 3 years as the mayor of Eustis. I think we've got a lot of stuff done. There's a lot more to do.
Yeah.
So,
well, you've got a lot of good help on that county, city commission.
I tell you, all the commissions I've served on, I am the most excited about where this commission can take us. Right. Yeah. We've got a very balanced group of people that have a big heart and love this community. So I'm excited where we can go. Right.
I don't disagree with you. And you came in back in 2008 on the heels of a city council that was not very cooperative with the business community, shall we say.
The commission that I came in following is one that truthfully had shut Eustis down a little bit. They had stopped some growth, and we ended up with some lawsuits over that. We spent probably over $1 million fighting lawsuits and things like that for my first 2 or 3 years on the Eustis City Commission. Not only was that going on, you had the downturn of the economy that happened in 2007 and 2008. Eustis went from about 500 to about 450 to 500 employees down to about 220 employees. That's counting police, fire, public works, water department. But there were hard decisions that had to be made at the time. We're back up to probably, I'm going to say 300, 340 employees, and trying to do the right things for our citizens right now. Some of the most important things that we try to look at are public safety. Right. Keeping our police department with the modern equipment and trying to get the right people in places. The new police chief that we just hired from Daytona Beach has done wonders already, and he's only been on the job a month and a half, 2 months, and just doing a tremendous job. Yep. Our fire department, probably one of the best in Central Florida. Got an ISO rating of a 2. Somebody's going to say, I don't care about an ISO rating. If you look at your home insurance, you care a lot about your ISO rating.
Right. Especially the business community, too. I want to point that out.
Absolutely.
It makes a huge difference in their costs. Yes.
Absolutely. So we've got a lot of work we're doing with them right now. We, as a commission, over the last couple meetings, have talked about going ahead and adding some positions to our fire department. We have decided as a commission that we want to add 6 firefighters onto the firefighting team there, more for medical calls. We had bought a brand new medical truck that has sat at the department not running because we had to put people on our engines.
Right.
And every time you roll a fire engine to a medical call, you're spending all kinds of money. And to really service the people of Eustis, those 6 positions are very, very important to this community.
Well, I can tell you this, and I hope everyone else recognizes this. You walk around in downtown Eustis in 2007 and 2008 on a Friday night, nothing's going on. No. You walk around in downtown Eustis today on a Friday night in 2021, it's night and day. Your business community down there is thriving. The restaurants are thriving. The local establishments down there are thriving. The retail establishments. I mean, it's amazing the difference between Eustis 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and Eustis now. And that's attributable to the leadership of the city council that's on there. And it's a joy to watch.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It was a heartbreak losing Waterman, losing that hospital out of our downtown corridor. And it's always been a kind of a tripping kind of a hazard of how you're going to fix that problem.
Right.
So luckily we've got many folks that have invested in the downtown community. We've got buildings going in. We've got those restaurants that you talked about. The city commission last year decided we needed to buy that Waterman property so that we controlled the destination of our downtown.
Right.
Where very few cities can say they've got city blocks downtown that they can control their own destiny.
That's right.
We've been working with a company to bring in some investment to go ahead and start some building on those lots downtown. Right. So within the next month and a half, we hope to be able to make some announcements of what's coming new to downtown Eustis.
That's exciting. I like to hear that. I can tell you that, and this is probably going to get me a little bit of hot water with some of your competitors, but Tavares has grown, and certainly there's a thriving downtown now in Tavares, but they're hampered by the government. Mm-hmm. The government eats up a lot of their downtown area, and they pay no taxes to the city. Leesburg has done some wonderful things, but Leesburg is hampered by Beacon College, and
Correct.
They're trying to do some things now to kind of limit Beacon College's expansion because Beacon College is a not-for-profit, doesn't pay any taxes. So you say losing that hospital, it stung, but in the long run, it might be the best thing that ever happened in the city of Eustis because, as you just pointed out, you're going to get some tax-generating revenue.
You're absolutely right. Really, what Waterman was bringing us were people to visit our downtown corridor and pay water bills.
Right.
Other than that, they were really almost a drain on some of the resources that we have.
Yes.
But we're looking forward to what we have coming. We think we've got some exciting things right around the corner, and can't wait to make some announcements.
That's fantastic news. That piece of property there has. I'm trying to think. Go back to the early 2000s when the hospital left, and we were trying so hard to find some kind of use for that. And I was in economic development at the time, in the Industrial Development Authority, and we were really struggling so hard to find something down there for uses. So to hear it finally coming to fruition, patience.
Absolutely,
patience is something that we all struggle with, I'm sure, in this room, because I think we're all a lot of type A personalities.
We are. I'm a firm believer if you just take a step back, wait for God's movement on things,
yes,
it'll all work out for you. And it is working.
Right.
And it's all in good timing.
That's good.
So I think the way the economy was in 2007, 8, and 9, had somebody have stepped out on faith trying to do something, I'm not sure it would have worked the way it could today.
Right.
So we're looking forward to it.
Outstanding. Michael, you touched on the fire department a moment ago, and a quick funny story that, as I said, I did my homework today, and I understand that you drove up to Wisconsin in order to drive a fire truck around a football field up there. Is that correct?
I did get the fortunate ability to go up with one of our fire chiefs to look at a new engine that we were purchasing. It was built for Eustis, and we got to fly up, drive it around Lambeau Field up there in Wisconsin, and made sure it met the specs that we wanted, and then they delivered it back to us after we flew home. So.
Right.
And that was probably one of the newest the first fire truck Eustis had purchased probably since 1990.
It's amazing.
So,
and of course, it's a little special to me because you purchased that truck from a friend of mine, Robert Bogus, who was a sales rep for Pierce, and Robert and I were college roommates at Florida. So, now you're getting the source of my information.
He's a great guy and takes good care.
Right.
Of Eustis when it comes to our fire equipment. That's why I say we got some of the best fire equipment out there.
Right.
And of course, Robert's family is just one of those tremendous families.
Right.
His dad being the doctor that took care of probably most of Lake County at one time, at least the Golden Triangle.
That's right. He actually pulled me out of my mother. So
really? Okay.
So the Bogus family and I, we go way back, and they're very precious to not just me, but this entire community, as you pointed out.
Great family.
The passion that you have for the fire department and for first responders is clear in talking to you, and you kind of have a reputation here in the city of Eustis of being, able to beat the firemen to the scene.
I don't know about beating them, but if they need me, I will show up. Right. There is an app that as mayor and as a commissioner, we can get on our phones. We know when the fire trucks are rolling.
Right.
We know if it's something major and one of our citizens or one of the families that are here in this area, they're going to need help. We're here to help them. And that's why I monitor that so closely.
Right.
If I can't think of anything worse to stand outside of your home and to watch it burn down. No matter how good our fire department is, there's just some of those cases that it's not going to happen that we save the home. We do a good job, but sometimes the house is not savable. Sometimes the house is so damaged that the family can't go back in. If I can be there to be a voice of courage, encouragement to that family, or to be able to even make the call to Red Cross for them, or if we can't get Red Cross at the time, to be able to call one of our local hotels to get them rooms for the night, that's what we're here for.
Right.
That's what being in a town like Eustis is all about.
Amen. Amen. Now, Michael, you talked about the importance of community and the impact that it has on people growing up. Part of the community, of course, are the school systems.
Yes,
elementary school, middle school, high school. You mentioned earlier on the chairman of the Alley Academy, which is a charter school here in Eustis.
Yes, sir.
But you're a Eustis Panther.
Yes, I'm a Panther.
Deep inside your heart.
Deep inside my heart. Always will be.
Right.
Bleed blue and gold.
And you have supported the athletic department there and the sports programs here in Eustis for a long time.
Ever since I can remember, probably going back to 4 years old, right, attending every high school football game with my parents, and just love it. Just love it.
Right. And even going on, a lot of people go off to bigger and better things, and they come back home and they forget all about their high school, but that doesn't define you.
I think what makes a community great is its education. And Eustis Elementary, Eustis Heights Elementary, our middle school, Sorrento Springs Elementary, and Eustis High School play a pivotal part of making this community great. And I'm going to tell you, I watched people come out of Eustis High School that people would say never make it, but because of the great education and the leadership at our high school, our kids have a great bounding board to make it through anything they've got in front of them.
Absolutely.
So I was fortunate enough to graduate from Eustis back in '83 when Gene Molnar was the principal. You knew when Gene Molnar was in the hallway. I mean, he was probably 6'4", 6'5", white hair,
right,
and a former Marine,
right.
Gene demanded respect, and you gave it to him.
That's right.
But Eustis High School was a place that was respected at that time.
Right.
His assistant principal was Watson Dunham, just a good-hearted man.
Yeah.
And the two of them ran a school that was just tremendous.
Right.
And I look back on my high school days with great fondness and very thankful that I got to go to Eustis High School.
Well, I feel certain that you didn't spend a lot of time in the principal's office.
I didn't, because I was still scared of those teachers that taught my mom and dad making that phone call home.
It's funny. You talk about Gene. People use the word presence.
Yes.
Gene walked into a room and just commanded presence.
And Gene still has that today.
Yes.
And Gene's got to be in his 90s.
Carl Pettit is another example of a guy that taught.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Carl actually signed my diploma as superintendent of schools.
Right. Yeah.
So,
same concept. Taught at Tavares, taught at Eustis for a number of years, touched on many generations of Lake County students, and just had a presence about them that I mean, as a child, like you said it, we were scared to death of them in a respectful way. But
absolutely.
They monitored by fear just a little bit, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, and both of those are just good people.
Absolutely.
And they're both friends of mine.
Yes.
One of the interesting things, Carl's wife, Sandra, was my first teacher.
Yeah.
She was my preschool teacher.
Wow.
And I love her and thank the world and just thankful that I have her in my life.
She was a guidance counselor at Tavares when I was in high school.
Yes,
so,
sir.
there's an example of different schools, but she touched us in her own special way. She was the back in, I think they called it the women's dean or something like that. But she, Anchor Club and all those kind of things that we were all involved in. But yeah, that's those are two names in education. And somebody sent me a picture the other day of Martha Rao, Jennings Rao's mother, but Gene and Rao Sr.'s wife. They lived right down the street with. Jennings was superintendent of schools and for a number of years. And these people just meant so much to us growing up, and were such examples for how to live your life.
Absolutely.
Outside of your family, as we talked earlier. It wasn't just the family. It was the whole community that
it was this whole
you.
community.
Yeah.
And then I was fortunate enough that being born and raised in First Baptist Church here in Eustis, just very fortunate for the leadership that I learned there, and the caring and thoughtfulness of the leadership of that church all these years.
Right.
It was a leader in this community and still is as Life Point Church.
Right.
But they gave me the ability to be able to stand up and speak anywhere that I want to speak.
Right.
And not have a fear of doing it.
Yep.
So very thankful for that as well. And and of course, grounding my faith, knowing that whatever that's in front of me, I can face it and not fear it.
Yes.
That God is in control of everything that we do.
Absolutely. And accepting that is the key to success.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, Michael, we've come full circle there. We've touched on all of the aspects that we always find common amongst leaders. Strong family influence, a good education, a strong work ethic, and of course your faith.
Absolutely.
All of those things that are the building blocks of someone who takes the reins and leads people. Leading isn't always taking them where they want to go. It's taking them where they need to go. And you and the rest of the city council and Eustis have done that for the city. So I'm going to close with a couple of things. One is I talked to your cousin today, B.E., and he said to give you a little bit of heat about the fact that you trade cars so often you've never gotten an oil change.
Well, Garrett and I talked about that a little bit ago, and I will be 57 in September, and I think my car that I'm on right now is 59.
Wow.
And I'm getting tired of the phone calls about my warranty being out.
Right.
I've never had to use a car warranty, Bruce.
He told me if I didn't say that, he was going to get on me, so I had to bring that up. But that's funny. You know what? We all have our vices,
Absolutely.
don't we?
Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to finish with this, Michael. You have led Eustis with a lot of help and assistance from the community and from your fellow leaders. You've led Eustis into a very prosperous period and where do you want to take them from here?
Eustis has got a long way to go. I want to see Eustis grow. I want to see Eustis being truthfully that shiny part of the Golden Triangle again. When I was a kid when I was a little kid, Eustis, if it was going on in Lake County, it went on here.
Right.
And it went on here first. And we're going to bring that back. There's a lot of work to do, but with the commission that we have now and the folks that we have supporting us, we're going to get there. I am proud of this community, and I want to work hard to make it what it needs to be. I have to run again in 2022, and I'm trying to make that decision whether I want to do that. And, with my workload and things like that, but I have that love for this community.
Right.
And at this point, I think I'm going to do it. I've had some of my commission folks tell me that if I don't file to run, they're going to file for me. So, we'll see what happens there.
Well, Michael, you've done a fantastic job, and I can't wait to see where you go from here. And it's been a joy talking to you tonight. It really is. I knew this was going to be a lot of fun tonight, and it has been. Thank you. I think we've introduced you a little bit more to the people that you serve, those that don't already know you. And we all look forward to seeing just more great stuff out of the Eustis City Council and its mayor.
Bruce, thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for the friendship over the years. You're a shining example of what this community is all about.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and that wraps up this edition of Community IQ. And soon we're going to be having Commissioner Nan Cobb on here. So we'll talk a little bit more about the city of Eustis coming up in the next couple of weeks.
You will have a good time with her.
Oh, yes. All right. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, sir.